Hello, I'm Alicia and welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I want to show you how to make these adorable little centerpiece mats, coasters, whatever you want to use it for. This is a great size for kids to work on, and for adults you can whip this up in about an hour, maybe 2 at the most, but you can also go bigger too if you want to. So what you'll need is cotton filler cord. The size I used for a placemat or a centerpiece mat or coasters is the 5/16. You will also need macrame string. For this one, I used the 3mm in sand. And this one I used 4mm in linen. All of these can be found on my website except for the linen. I will post a link for that and a coupon code that you can use for that as well. But you can see there's just a slight difference in the 4mm in that it's just a tiny bit larger. You will also need scissors and a yarn needle. I used felt for cutting out the pumpkin. And for the pumpkin, I just traced out a pumpkin shape and then trace that onto the felt. I also have a link on where you can find the felt too. And then I used for the little tendril here, I used kind of a copper colored paper wire. And then for the stem, I just broke up some cinnamon sticks. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to use the 3mm coffee color and then this pretty burgundy Merlot felt color for the pumpkin. So grab one end of your filler cord and cut it at a fresh, clean cut at an angle. And then just set the rest of it to the side. I always put it on my left side, and then I keep my string on my right side, and then that way they don't get tangled. Then cut off about 3 to 4 yards of your string. And thread one end and set that to the side. We'll start with the non-needle side first. So grab your other end and just place that right on top of your filler cord at about 3 inches from the end of the cord so that it dangles down the front. And begin wrapping to the right around both the end of your string and the filler cord. And the way that I'm wrapping is up the back, over the top, down the front, up the back, over the top, down the front. And wrap until about 3/4 of an inch remain. Then we're going to loop that around so that both of the unworked sides come together. And now we're going to be wrapping in the opposite way that we just did, and now we're going to be going to the left. So with your string down in the back, we'll come up the front, over the top, down the back. Up the front, over the top, down the back. And I like to do that. It depends on what size string you're working with, but I like to do that until the end of the cord is covered, which usually works out for me about 6 wraps. Then we're going to take this and curl this around on the left side, and we'll grab our needle. And now we're going to start to secure this as we go around and build outwards. So we'll take our needle and coming from the bottom, pull that through the top and then pull the rest of the string with it. So it looks like I have a knot in my string here. All right, let me pause while I get that fixed. Okay, so then what we're going to do is called a double wrap. So we're going to wrap between the row that we just pulled through and our new unworked row. And then I'm going to follow that up with 3 single wraps. And then I'm going to do another double wrap. And 3 single wraps. And a double. So we just continue this pattern until we make it all the way around. And we're always going to be pulling through our double wraps from just that previous row. So because we're making a placemat or a coaster, we want this to be really flat. So what I like to do every so often is push this down into a hard surface as I go so that I can create a nice flat mat. Okay, so I have made it all the way back around. So I have now completed 2 full rows, and I'm going to start working on my 3rd row now. And so my 3rd row, I will now be pulling through from right here. Okay, so one thing I want to mention is that when you're pulling through your double wraps, you want to make sure that you pull all the way through so that you don't have any kinks or knots in the back. Otherwise, you're going to have to unwrap and go all the way back to release that knot and then go again. And then also, as you are pulling through from the previous rows, try not to hook it in the other string fibers. Otherwise, you're going to have a little bit of a mess. So right here, make sure that you have a free space You don't want to go right in the middle and hook on those fibers. If you hook on one or two, it's okay. You can still pull it through and they'll kind of snap, and then you can snip those off at the end if you have loose fibers coming out. But try to avoid that. And if you are getting through it, just back it out and try it again. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going around and around. For this particular size, I did 7 rows, but again, you can go bigger if you want to. The way to tell what row you're on is very easy. So this is row 1, that first little row that we did. Then we started coming outwards from row 1, and we curled that around to start row 2. So that hump that starts row 2 is a really good reference point for you to know where your row starts and stops. So just point the hump to the left and count outwards. So we can see right now that if we go this way, I've got 1 row, 2 rows, and 3 rows. So I'm starting on the 3rd row, and then when I come back to this point, I'll be starting on my 4th row. So just keep going around and around, and I'm going to pause it and start again when I'm ready to change string so that you can see how I do that. Okay, so when you have about 12 inches left of your current string, it is time to add in more string. Or if you want to change color, you'll want to do this as well. So cut off another 3 to 4 yards of new string and take one end and place it right on top of that filler cord, and continue your wrapping pattern. Making sure to wrap around both the new string and the cord. And I like to do that for at least 3 wraps, somewhere between 3 and 6. And then take your needle and put it at the other end of your new string and set that down. So then, to change, all we'll do is just take our old string and put that along the filler cord and pick up our new string. So that they've kind of hooked together like that. And we'll just continue our wrapping with the new string taking the place of the old one. And I'll do that for another 3 to 6 wraps. And then if you have a lot left, you can just go ahead and cut it off. Which I do, and I don't want to have to keep track of that. So I'm just going to cut that off. Okay, so just keep going around until you get to as wide as you want your placemat to be. So if I go for if I do 7 rows again, that takes up about 2.5 yards of my cord and probably about 25 yards of string. So for reference, that's about how much you'll get for if you do 7 rows. Okay, so I am just about done with my placemat, and for this one I decided to go to 9 rows to make it a little bit bigger. And so my 9th row is going to end right about here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this cord down at an angle. And then for the final wraps, I'm going to do them all as double wraps. And then I'm going to tie it in a knot on the back. So try to be even here so that it has a nice smooth transition. Otherwise, if you pull some that are too tight and some that are looser, you'll kind of have a wave right here. Okay, so my filler cord is totally covered now. And now I'm just going to continue on for a few more because I think that that helps transition it nicely and evenly, just like that. So for the back here, I'm just going to take that previous row's double wrap and I'm just going to twist my string around it a few times just to secure that in. And for this one, I'll just tie a little knot here. Because this won't be, this will just sit on a table, so I'm not too worried about that coming undone. So no need to make a double knot or anything. Okay, so then what I have, let's see, figure out where you want to place your pumpkin. And then I coiled that wire. And so I'm just going to hot glue all of this in. And then I took a cinnamon stick, turned it into a stem. And I'm just going to do something like that. So let me go hot glue that. Okay, and there you have it. I hope that you've enjoyed this craft. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Let me know in the comments if you think that you will give it a try. And also snap a picture and head over to my Instagram and tag me, and then I can see what you've made.